If you've ever felt like the world pushed you so far into a corner that breathing itself felt heavy, if you've ever held someone you love while silently falling apart inside, then don't look away. Stay with this story until the last word, because what you're about to read isn't just another tale of hardship. It's a reminder that kindness from a stranger can become the turning point of an entire life. It was a rainy Thursday afternoon at the Grayford City train station, where people rushed in every direction, umbrellas dripping, footsteps echoing, and voices blending into a blur of noise that seemed to swallow everything. For Hannah Miller, a 29-year-old mother, the noise felt like a physical weight pressing against her chest. Her little boy, Noah, only 5, walked beside her, dragging a worn-out dinosaur backpack whose zipper had broken months ago. His favorite T-Rex keychain, once bright and cheerful, was missing, too lost somewhere between moving boxes and sleepless nights. Hannah wasn't going on vacation. Life hadn't given her that luxury in a long time. She had just been evicted from the small apartment she worked so hard to pay for after losing her night shift job at the diner. The rent was overdue, her savings gone, and she had no choice left but to take the train to her brother S' place 2 cities away, hoping he wouldn't mind them crashing on his couch, just for a little while. The tickets had been bought using the last $100 she had. As she waited near platform 6, Noah tugged at her sleeve, his voice small and trembling. "Mommy." Will things ever feel good again? Hannah froze. She felt the air leave her lungs. She wanted to be strong, she wanted to smile, but her heart cracked open right then. With shaking lips she whispered, "Of course, Noah. Things will be better soon," but her voice betrayed her. Her eyes burned with tears she refused to let fall. A few feet away, sitting with a coffee untouched in his hands, was Adrian Rhodes, a 41-year-old entrepreneur whose face was known in business magazines, award shows, and tech conferences. To the world, he was a self-made success story, sharp jawline, perfect suit, expensive shoes, quiet authority. But no one knew that inside him lived a grief so deep it hollowed him out. 4 years earlier, he had lost his younger brother, the only family he had left, in a tragic accident. Work became his escape, his shield, his fortress. He traveled constantly, smiled politely in interviews, attended charity events, and built companies, but never a life. When he heard Noah's fragile question, it pierced a part of him he thought was long numb. He looked up, noticing the exhaustion in Hannah's eyes, the way she held herself as though every breath was a battle. Adrian hesitated. He didn't want to intrude. But when Noah accidentally dropped his little plastic water bottle while climbing onto the bench, Adrian instinctively stood, picked it up, and held it out gently. "I think this belongs to you," he said softly. Noah reached for it, whispering, "Thank you, mister." Hannah forced a tired smile. "Thanks," she murmured, embarrassed but grateful. Adrian nodded and returned to his seat, but something about their weary presence, their quiet sadness, kept tugging at him. He tried to refocus on his emails, but the screen blurred. Minutes later, an announcement echoed across the station. "Train 44 to Westbridge delayed by 1 hour." Hannah exhaled shakily and slumped back against the bench, massaging her temples. Noah curled up beside her, resting his head against her arm. Adrian watched them for a moment, then made a decision he hadn't made in years. He approached someone not for business, not for networking, but simply because his heart told him to. "Excuse me," he began gently. I hope I'm not crossing any lines, but would your son like a hot chocolate? The cafe upstairs makes a great one. My treat." Hannah stiffened. She didn't want to be pitied. She didn't want charity. But when Noah's tired eyes lit up at the mention of hot chocolate, her resolve melted. "That's very kind," she replied quietly. "Thank you." Adrian smiled and returned a few minutes later with 2 cups, one with extra marshmallows for Noah and 1 warm tea for Hannah. What began as small talk slowly unfolded into real conversation. He learned that she used to work as a childcare assistant, that she lost her husband 2 years ago, and that she'd been fighting to stay afloat ever since. She learned that he lived in hotels more than homes, that he owed much of his success to his late brother, and that he'd forgotten what genuine human connection felt like. For the first time in months, Hannah laughed at something someone said. Noah giggled too, marshmallow foam stuck adorably to his nose. Adrian found himself smiling, really smiling. When the train finally arrived, Hannah thanked him sincerely. You didn't have to do all that, she murmured. I know, he replied gently. But sometimes, helping someone else reminds us we're still human. Before they boarded, he handed Noah a small paper napkin with a little sketch of a dinosaur smiling. Under it, he wrote, "Better days are coming." Weeks passed. Hannah and Noah squeezed into her brother's cramped living room, sleeping on an old futon. She searched endlessly for work, sent resume after resume, faced rejection after rejection. Sorry, the position has been filled. Email cut deeper. One afternoon, as she sat staring hopelessly at her phone, an unexpected email notification appeared. It was from Adrian Rhodes. She blinked, reading it twice. Hannah, I hope you don't mind me reaching out. I haven't forgotten our conversation. You told me how much you loved working with children. My foundation is launching a new program that offers free early education support for low-income communities. We're looking for someone compassionate, experienced, and patient to lead the project. You were the first person who came to mind. If you're interested, I'd love to discuss details. Hannah stared at the screen, her hands trembling uncontrollably. She had no idea he was that Adrian Rhodes, the philanthropist and tech mogul who was constantly in the news. Within a week, she had the job. Not just a job of purpose. She designed programs for families who needed support the most, taught workshops for young parents, and helped dozens of children who reminded her of Noah. Slowly, her life began to rebuild. Noah started laughing again, making friends, drawing little dinosaurs that he proudly taped to the refrigerator. Adrian visited the center, often not always for business. Sometimes to help, sometimes to donate supplies, but mostly, if he were honest, because Hannah and Noah had become the warmest part of his routine. Months later, after a fundraising event at the center, Noah ran up to Adrian, tugging at his coat. "Mr. Adrian," he said joyfully, "Mom says we're happy again." "And she said you helped us." Adrian knelt down, swallowing the lump in his throat. "No, buddy," he said softly. "Your mom is the strongest person I've ever met. I just reminded her that she wasn't alone." Hannah stood nearby, eyes shining, her heart fuller than it had been in years. And as the three of them stepped out into the gentle night breeze, it became clear that this wasn't just a story about kindness. It was a story about broken pieces finding their place again. It was about hope returning when it's least expected. It was about strangers becoming something like family, because sometimes one simple act of kindness doesn't just change a moment. It changes an entire life. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Kindness Stories. Because every view, every share, and every kind word keeps hope alive in this world and reminds us all that kindness never goes unnoticed.